Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Leslie presents. And now your host, Paul Leslie.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest, Stephen Bishop, is a singer, songwriter, and recording artist. He joins us to talk about his most recent album, Be Here Then. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Paul Leslie Hour.
Thanks, Paul.
So I think most stories are best from the beginning. What was life like growing up?
Well, that's a good question. Not many people ask me that. Growing up in the beginning was a little rough. My parents got divorced when I was 5. I had an older brother who's 9 years older than me, and they wound up buying me my first guitar when I was 13, or 12 and a half, something like that. And I had after my parents got divorced, my mother eventually wound up remarrying a guy who was an opera singer who sang, opera teacher actually, that sang at the hardware. I mean, didn't sing at the hardware store, worked at the hardware store, but that's about his whole thing. And it made it difficult for me because he hated rock and roll and that kind of thing. So, I wasn't allowed to play guitar in the house. It was kind of a drag. So that was rough. It was kind of, at times pretty rough, actually. I loved the Beatles and loved music. He wanted to push me into more of a John Philip Sousa bag.
We see.
And it didn't sound, I'd be at the lunch quad trying to play he bought me a clarinet when I was 10, so I started first on clarinet, and I'd be at the lunch quad and at school, when the Beatles were happening and everything, trying to impress girls, playing the satisfaction riff on my clarinet at school. It just didn't make it. Couldn't get any girls interested.
I see. So tell me, do you think the ability to write songs was something that was just natural to you?
Not really. I don't think so, no. I was showed how to write by the songs on the radio. By the Beatles always had great structure in their songs. So beginning riff, verse, chorus, riff again, bridge, chorus out. I followed that, except for Separate Lives, which is a totally different structure. I followed that structure on most of my songs.
Is it the melody or the lyric in a song that attracts you more, that excites you more?
Good question. I'd say probably the melody. You can have kind of crummy lyrics if the melody is really, really catchy. I was just noticing that song that's a big hit now, Happy by it's by Pharrell Williams. It's really a catchy song. It's really well done. And he doesn't change the lyric very much in the chorus. And he says, "'Cause I'm happy." And he says something like, "When there's rain upon the roof," or something like that. But he says it over and over. I don't know where I'm going here with this, but it was interesting use of structure there.
You just mentioned this artist of today. As a songwriter, do you think it's important to continue listening to the recordings of other writers?
Oh, yeah, sure. God, I've been very influenced by other writers. The British Invasion, all that, and I love Comden and Green. I think there was Comden and Adolph Green, Betty Comden and Adolph Green, something like a song like "The Party's Over" by Judy Holliday, the way she does it. That just is amazing songwriting. And Backrack and David and the Stones, Jagger Richards, they've made great songs. Usually there's not much of a shortage of great songs. That they do keep popping up, but sometimes some of the songs on the radio are I feel like they're like fast food music, kind of here today, gone tomorrow kind of thing.
Well, sometimes it feels like some of the songs of today are here today, gone later today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But people love them. My stepson loves them.
When you decided to pursue the life of an artist, did you ever doubt yourself, or did you always believe in yourself?
Always doubted myself. But I always believed in myself. I did both.
What kept you going?
Well, what kept me going most of the time during the tough times was that I'm not really adept at many traits. I'm not this is what I do. I'm a good entertainer and I can write songs and do this kind of thing, but I'm not going to design a new architectural dig or anything. I'm not going to do anything amazing that doesn't have to do with music, unfortunately.
I've seen 2 Art Garfunkel concerts where he specifically mentioned you. Once he was with an orchestra, and another time it was just him and a solo guitar player. And he would list his 5 favorite songwriters in both of these concerts, and he made a point twice to mention Stephen Bishop as being a favorite songwriter.
Well, that surprises me. I mean, I just had dinner with him just the other night. I would have never thought he would do anything like that.
No? He did it twice.
Wow.
Yes. He listed Jimmy Webb, Paul Simon, Stephen Sondheim, Stephen Bishop, and Randy Newman. I have a strange memory, and he did this twice. And once.
Wow, that's very cool. I mean, he's an amazing singer. He's a great singer, Garfunkel.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, probably one of the best. So how did Mr. Garfunkel come to record your songs?
Well, that actually happened through a woman I became friends with and am still really close friends with, Leah Kunkel, who was Cass Elliott's sister and also was back then the wife of Russ Kunkel, the drummer, the session drummer. And he was doing, I think, a session with Garfunkel, and Garfunkel was looking for songs for his album Breakaway, and Leah Kunkel has got a tape together of mine and got it through her husband, and he wound up hearing it, and I came in there, met him way back when, and recorded some songs on tape, and he wound up doing 2. And since then has done about 8. He's done about 8 of my songs.
Speaking of Garfunkel, it seems like especially great vocalists are attracted to your songs. Barbra Streisand has recorded Stephen Bishop's song. Johnny Mathis, the aforementioned Art Garfunkel, Pavarotti. Why do you think it is that great singers seem to be attracted to your work?
That's funny that I would have never even thought of that. Yeah, that's great. I don't know. I mean, I do try and have a lot of range in my songs and have it be interesting and exciting and melodic, and I don't know. Frank Sinatra never recorded one of my songs, but he actually heard On and On, where I mentioned him, which was cool.
What did he say about that?
He liked it. That's all he said. He told his daughter Tina, and Tina told me. They drove down to Palm Springs, and she played it for him. I kept thinking, well, I'm going to open my front door, and there's going to be a shiny new bike from Frank, a little note, but I never see it.
Tell us about that song, On and On. Did you know that it was going to be as successful as it was and is?
Not at all. Not at all. No, I did not. I was surprised because it started being played on college stations and back then, and a lot of people really liked it. The record company back then, we had that hit with Save It for Any Day, and they thought, well, let's just move on, let's go to the next album. I said, well, the people are playing On and On, and then it became a big hit. So it was one of those things. That song, I don't know if that song would ever be a hit now. I mean, it's just so unusual and different, and it doesn't have 4 on the floor with the bass drum.
In my humble opinion, a truly great song is found at the very beginning of this comedy that I love to death, starring Tom Hanks. I'm talking about Money Pit. What inspired The Heart Is So Willing?
Technically, I didn't write it, but the reality was they wanted me to sing it, and they were going to pay me well for it, and the song wasn't completely written. I worked on it, but I didn't get any credit on it. I worked on it a whole night with Kathy Wakefield, the lyricist.
Who wrote the initial version of it?
I think it was the music was written by Michel Colombier.
Oh, yes, the late composer.
Yeah, and Kathy Wakefield, I think. And I went over her house, and I worked out the structure of it, and I wrote another little part. I didn't get any credit. I just was doing it mostly to make some money.
Of the songs that you wrote, who do you think has done the best rendition of a Stephen Bishop song?
I'll just tell you what comes to mind, right, the first thing that comes to mind. First thing that came to mind was Sandy Shaw's version of One More Night. Sandy Shaw was a big hit artist in England. She always dressed wearing bare feet, and she'd sing wearing bare feet. And she had a hit with my song One More Night, not a hit, but it was a recording with One More Night, and I got a big kick out of that because she had those songs, Girl Don't Come, and that other song, There's Always Something There to Remind Me. She had those as hits. And then I guess the other person I would say would be Phil Collins and Marilyn Martin are Separate Lives. I did really like that version. It's really interesting. Came out great. And Kenny Rankin's version of On and On, which was really good. He did that with the orchestra. Plus, Garfunkel, almost everything that Garfunkel did of mine I really liked. He just always had a nice vibe on the recordings that he did of mine. I didn't like Barbra Streisand's One More Night so much. It sounded a little overproduced and stuff. But hey, it was great that she recorded my song.
What's the greatest compliment you've gotten as an artist?
The greatest compliment? I guess the first thing that comes to mind is I was very fortunate to work with Oscar Castro Neves, who was the guitarist for Carlos Jobim on all those early recordings, Brazilian recordings. It was a treat to work with him and record with him. And just by him liking my songs and stuff, it was a big compliment. He's just an amazing guitarist. I did an album called Romance in Rio. It was all with this fellow, Oscar Castro Neves, playing guitar. Just a brilliant guitarist, Brazil guitarist.
Working our way to the present, this new album you have, Be Here Then. Tell us about, first of all, the title of this album, Be Here Then.
What actually happened was during the Beatles time when the Beatles were first getting together and, they needed a name, and then John Lennon used to say, a man with a flaming pie came and suddenly appeared and said, you're the Beatles. So that same man with the flaming pie showed up at my house about 6 months ago and said, you would call the album Be Here Then. The same man. You wouldn't believe it.
It's funny because there's that Buddhist expression, be here, what is it?
Now.
Be Here Now. And then the name of Jeff Bridges, his first solo album, was called Be Here Soon.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Here's Be Here Then.
It's just the natural progression.
I guess so.
The album starts off with this song, Pretty Baby. And it's one of those songs that just kind of sinks into your heart right away. Tell me about the inspiration.
I'm not sure if it's about a runaway or about a girl or what we meant it about, but I thought it was about a runaway, but it also could be about a girl that you lost or something. I wrote it with this great songwriter named Tia Sillers, who co-wrote I Hope You Dance, that great song, I Hope You Dance.
Yeah.
And she wrote it with me, and she was just really coming up with the great lyrics and just brilliant writer. It's very exciting when you collaborate with someone and you see the sparks flying out of their head when they come up with great ideas for songs. And she was just really brilliant. So she had these great lines in there. It's not really like a country song. It's more like a folk song.
Yeah.
More like a folky song.
Kind of in keeping with the substance of that song, Pretty Baby, the great novelist Pat Conroy, he said that there is more music in loss. And I read where you said that you find it easier to write when you're feeling kind of sad. What do you think it is to that?
I don't know. It seems to hold more weight, but you have this song out there, which we were just talking about, that happy song, and it's like everybody's happy and everything, but I have a tough time writing a song like, I'm in love, I'm happy, it's a beautiful thing. I have a tough time with that. So it's funny, too, because I just got this email from this guy who had just gotten my album and said, I'm disappointed there was no joy. And I'm thinking, since when was I the bearer of joy? Like in my other albums. But, I'm no bearer of joy. I always have a little bad songs to my repertoire because it's just part of who I am, I guess.
There's a great guitarist who I did an interview with named Brian Ray, and he said that happy art sucks.
Oh, I know Brian.
Yeah, he appears on this album.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the musicians who appear, because the great bassist Leland Sklar, Brian Ray.
David Paich from Toto. Let's see. Mark Goldenberg, he wrote some great songs for Lynn Ronstadt, that Mad Love he wrote. We wrote a song on here called Sparkle You Shine, which I really like. Players that have played for years are great players, like Lenny Castro, great percussionist, and some really talented people on here, and got it all together. My wife's in some of these pictures.
Could you pick a favorite song from this new album, Be Here Then?
Well, they're all my children. They're all mine, but I guess if I had to pick one favorite, I go for different favorites. I would say either Sparkle You Shine or Cry of the Brokenhearted, just for my own self.
The one you just mentioned, Cry of the Brokenhearted, that was one that I thought was interesting. So tell us about that one. How did that come about?
Well, just a story song. I have these songs that are kind of esoteric. It's about a guy. Yeah, it's about a guy who is with a girl, and then they break up, and he gets a record deal, and then she hears a song on the radio, and it makes her feel bad. It's not really anything Dostoevsky or anything or something really heavy. It's not War and Peace.
Our special guest is singer-songwriter Stephen Bishop. When someone listens to this new album, Be Here Then, what do you want the listener to get out of the experience?
Entertainment and a worthwhile album that they could play over and over again.
So when you're writing a song, how do you decide when a song is a keeper or is not?
I kind of do in a couple of ways. I try and play the song for different people, friends of mine, and get just kind of an overall reaction of what kind of reaction the song gets. And it usually goes something like that, like taking a little poll, or just instinct will tell me. But most of the time I have to be reassured. I'm one of those people, unfortunately, that they can walk into a building, just a small building, and everybody's in there saying how great they are and how great their album is, and I'd walk out of there thinking I was great. And then if I went into another building, everybody going, it's lousy, I hate your album. I think it was lousy. I'm just like that.
What is the best thing about being Stephen Bishop?
The best thing about being Stephen Bishop? I'm happy. I enjoy my life. Some things could be better, but generally I'm pretty happy, and I'm creative, and I like being creative. I'm still in this business after, 40 years or more. I was playing on a stage at the Del Mar Fair near San Diego, California, when I was in my band The Weeds, 42 years ago.
For anyone who listens to this broadcast, what would you like to say to the listener?
Vote Democratic. No, I don't even like the Democrats anymore. What would I like to say to the listener? I would like to say it's important to treat other people as you would yourself. I always believe that there's two different kinds of people in the world. There's a person, and there's somebody who messes with that person. And that's it. I say it in a different way, but just to try and enjoy life without making it harder on other people.
That's wonderful, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Our special guest has been Stephen Bishop, his latest album, Be Here Then. My last question, who is Stephen Bishop?
Who is Stephen Bishop? He's a guy who you wouldn't have heard of if he wouldn't have busted his ass to make it. That's who he is. And when I came up from San Diego, I did it the hard way. I walked around town and went to the school of hard knocks. And I'm still in this business after all these years with all the young people and the young, happening people.
Mr. Bishop, thank you very much for this interview. I really appreciate it.
All right, that was fun.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, great, Paul.
Enjoy your afternoon and evening.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right.